Sadan Saganalita Shri Vishakhan Mitamsha Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Dharale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadvaktaya Namo Namaha. First of all, offer my millions of obeisances to lotus feet of Asmadi Guru Pad Padma Nityala Pravishta Jagat Guru Shishima Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. Then also offer obeisances to lotus feet of Triranti Sannyasi Shishima Bhaktivedanta Dandi Maharaj and Hamnishta Sant Shri Aniruddha Das Prabhuji. All the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who are gathered here, please accept my humble obeisances. So page number 169, Piyush Varshini Vritti, Shri Krishna said to Uddhav, Tasman mad bhakti yuktasya yogino vai madatmanaha na jnanam na cha vairagyam praya shreyo bhavediha. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 28th chapter, 31st verse. For bhakti yogis who are endowed with devotion to me and immersed in thoughts of me, apart from union with me through devotion, bhakti yoga, nothing in existence, including knowledge, jnana, and renunciation, vairagya, can be eternally beneficial. Such practices are unnecessary for them. So this statement of scriptures indicates that bhakti is not awakened by renunciation, vairagya. So bhakti is not awakened by renunciation. Rather, renunciation is seen to be a flaw and an obstruction to the awakening of bhakti. So here you see that vairagya is a flaw, an obstruction to the awakening of bhakti. However, the renunciation that stems from bhakti is flawless and only enhances the experience of bhakti. So this establishes that renunciation is subservient to bhakti. In other words, yukta vairagya is when, for the purpose of relinquishing the material attachment and nourishing attachment to bhajan, one appropriately renounces those objects of the senses that are opposed to Krishna and service to him. Such renunciation is not dry renunciation because it is favorable to devotion. It is worshipful and appreciable, not repugnant and to be abandoned. Therefore, once one gains some entrance to the realm of worship and devotion, bhajan, renunciation is desirable. It is also written, Yadyat ashramam agat sa vikshukas tattat anna paripurnam aikshat. Wherever that mendicant went, whatever ashramas he visited, he saw them abundant with grains, opulence. By this well-known statement from scripture, sometimes it becomes apparent to the novice sadhaka that renunciation is appropriate. But then sometimes upon pondering the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, it decides to remain in the grihastha ashram. Tavat ragadaya stena tavat kara gruham tavat mohang nigado yavat krishno nate naha. Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto 14th chapter 38 36 verse. O Sham Sundar, as long as the living entity does not take shelter of your lotus feet, attachment and repulsion, like thieves, plunder everything he has. His household life, like a prison cell, becomes the cause of his bondage, and illusion immobilizes him like shackles placed around his feet. From this, the sadhaka concludes that to remain in the grihastha ashram is appropriate and beneficial. Likewise, resolutions and doubts arise in the mind of the sadhaka in regard to Shravan, Kirtan, and other limbs of bhakti. Since the scriptures describe the abundant fruit resulting from congregational chanting of the holy name, he sometimes resolves to adopt the process of Kirtan to make his life a success. But then he hears the scriptures' lavish praises of another limb of bhakti, such as Shravan, hearing, or Archan, worship, and he tries to become inclined toward that. Sometimes he thinks he will perform many different angas, limbs of devotion, as Maharaj Ambarish did. In this stage of anishtit bhajan kriya, acceptance and rejection arise, as to resolve and doubt. So it is named Yudha Vikalpa or extensive indecision. So Vishaya Sangara. The next one is Vishaya Sangara. Battling attachment to the objects of the senses. Atha Vishaya Sangara. Vishaviष्ट चित्तानां विष्णु आवेशा सुदूरतः वारुणि दिग्गतं वस्तु व्रजम नैन्द्रिं किम आपनुयात् इति भोग्य एव बलात् स्वस्मिन् अभिनिवेश्य मां भजने शिथिलयन्तीति तद अमी त्यक्त्वा नाम ग्राहं कामांश्चन कांश्चन तत्त्वतो अपि. So this is actually the Sanskrit one. Thereafter, a Vishaya Sangara, or battling with attachment to the objects of the senses, is described in scriptures. Scriptures state that for a person whose heart is tainted with desire for sense enjoyment, to become absorbed in bhakti to Bhagavan Shri Krishna is distant and seemingly impossible. Just as an object placed in the west cannot be found by a seeker traveling east, how can he ever obtain it? Upon seeing such a statement from scripture, a devotee practicing bhakti determines all these materialistic tendencies to enjoy the objects of the senses are forcibly dragging me toward them and diminishing my attachment to performing bhajan. Therefore, I will abandon all these materialistic tendencies and vow to take complete shelter of chanting the holy name. Yet, even after resolving to renounce enjoying sense objects, from time to time he is cheated by them and ends up enjoying them. As it is said, Parityagepi Anishwaraha, Chushamanas Chatan Kaman, being incapable of relinquishing sense pleasures, my devotee enjoys sense objects, feeling resentment and guilt. Srimad Bhagavatam 11, Canto 28, Chapter 27 and 28 verse. The sadhaka at the stage of Vishaya Sangara fits this description from Shastra spoken by Bhagavan. The sadhaka battles with his material tendency to enjoy the sense objects he enjoyed previously. Sometimes he emerges victorious and sometimes he meets with defeat at their hands. Because this stage of bhajan kriya involves a battle with the sense objects, it is appropriately called Vishaya Sangara, war with sense pleasures. Piyusha Varshini Vritti. Thereafter, Srila Vishwanath Thakur is discussing the stage named Vishaya Sangara, or battling with attachment to the objects of the senses. Within unsteady devotional practice, the mind of the sadhaka inclined to bhajan runs towards material enjoyment. Due to many past impressions in the consciousness since time immemorial. In such a state, he considers Vishya Chittanam Vishnu Avesha Sudurata Varuni Diggatam Vastu Brajan Nendrim Kim Apnayat. Vishnu Puran. For a person whose consciousness is absorbed in material sense objects, it is extremely difficult to absorb his mind in Krishna. Just as a man heading east cannot attain an object situated in the west. Very nice verse actually. Vishavishta Chittanam Vishnu Avesha Sudurataha Varuni Diggatam Vastu Vrajanendrim Kim Apnuya. From the statement of the Vishnu Puran, the sadhaka concludes, instead of becoming attached to Bhagavan, I am being forcibly dragged toward the objects of sense enjoyment. My power to perform bhajan is diminishing. Therefore, it is certainly necessary to give up material sense pleasure and take one-pointed shelter of the holy name. With such determination, the devotee endeavors to renounce material enjoyment, but due to previous impressions in his consciousness, he ends up again enjoying sense pleasures. Bhagavan Shri Krishna addresses Uddhav with regard to this type of devotee. Jata Shraddho Mat Kathasu Nirvinna Sarva Karmasu Veda Dukkhatmakan Kaman Parityagi Anishvara. Tato bhajeta mam prita shraddhalur drudha nishchaya jushamana shatan kaman dukkhodarkam shakarhayan. Srimad Bhagavatam, 11 Canto 28, chapter 27 and 28 verse. I am speaking of an aspiring devotee who has become detached from fruitive activities, for he knows them to cause sorrow. He has developed faith in the narrations of my pastimes, and he knows desires for sense enjoyments to be the emblem of misery. Although he knows this as fact, he is unable to abandon sense enjoyment. Even though such a practitioner sometimes ends up engaging in sense enjoyment, he should know in his heart of hearts that it leads to misery. He should sincerely repent for having performed such activities and understand them to be misfortunes of his own doing. At the same time, he should continue to perform bhajan of me with faith, determination, and love in order to extricate himself from this predicament. The practitioner of bhakti at the stage of Vishaya Sangara exemplifies this statement from the Bhagavatam. He is always battling with the objects of sense enjoyment, resulting sometimes in defeat and at other times when he subdues his desires for enjoyment in victory. Srila Vishwanath Thakur has commented on the above quoted two verses in his Sarartha Darshini commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. The essence of that commentary is as follows. In these two verses, the preliminary behavior of those qualified to practice bhakti is described. The bhakti sadhaka may know that although the sense pleasures resulting from having a spouse, children, and a family are actually sources of suffering, he is unable to renounce them. He views the object of sense enjoyment as causes of sorrow. And with a greatly distressed heart, he makes this firm resolve in favor of his devotion. Let my attachment to my family and home die, or let it not. Let millions upon millions of obstacles come in the way of my devotional practice, or let them not. If I have to suffer in hell because of my offenses, let it be. Or let lust plague me. But I will never give up bhakti. Even if the Creator Brahma approaches me in person and orders me to abandon my performance of bhajan to pursue monistic knowledge, jnana, or fruity activity karma, I will never do so. This is actually very nice verse. So this nice mindset actually. Whatever may happen, I will not give up bhakti. We should also try to develop this type of mentality. Because there is a verse in Padyavali, which I remember, Nindantu Priya Bandhava. Nindantu Priya Bandhava, Gurujana, means let my relatives criticize me, but I will not give up bhakti. And Nindantu Priya Bandhava, Gurujana, Ganjantu Munchantuva, Durvadam Pariveshantu, Abhijana, Vangshe Kalankostuva, Tatruka Prema Namanuraga Mattaya Manam Tume, Chittam Naiva Nivartate, Kshanamapi Shri Krishna Padam Pujat. So, very nice verse in this one. It is told that Nindantu Priya Bandhava, my relatives may criticize me. Nindantu Priya Bandhava Gurjana, Ganjantu Munchantuva. My seniors may also abandon me. Durvadam Parighoshantu Abhijana, Vangshe Kalankostuva. So, in this verse one, he's telling that someone will tell me that you are actually a black sheep in our family. But I will not give up bhakti. Actually, this is the, there is also verse 176. Swami nihantu vyasantu puras sapatnyo bhartur bhajantu gurvah pitarascha lajjam etavata yadi kalanki kulam tathastu ramanujeva matanotu manonurago. Hey Sakhi, one gopi is telling, I don't care if my husband beats me. Now this gopi is in love with Krishna and she is telling to her Sakhi, I don't care if my husband beats me, I don't mind if my rivals laugh at me, and if my in-laws and elders are ashamed of my behavior. Let my family's name be tarnished. Regardless, the passion is in my heart for Baladev's younger brother will continue to grow. So now the gopi is not calling Krishna's name, she's calling Baladev's younger brother now. So then another gopi is telling that Swami kuppyati kuppyatam parjana nindanti nindantuma anyat kyam pratatam ayam cha jagati praudho mamopadrava आशस्याम पुनः एतद् एव यत् इदं चक्षुश्चिरं वर्धताम येनेदं परिपीयते मुररिपो सौंदर्य सारंभपो. If my husband is angry, let him be angry, and if my friends criticize me, no harm. The whole world can turn against me. Any catastrophe can fall on my head. I don't mind. I have only one desire in my heart, that I can behold Shri Krishna, who is the essence of all beauty for the eyes. My eyes should develop more and more capacity to absorb Murripu's beauty. So this is actually a very good sentiment, that whatever may happen, I should be only interested in so many times devotees they criticize for bhakti, but devotees should not give up their resolve to perform bhakti very strongly. Once he begins to perform bhajan, his unflinching determination in bhakti far exceeds his attachment to the objects of sense enjoyment. Because he knows that the ramification of sense enjoyment is misery. He derides worldly enjoyment while helplessly continuing to enjoy. Alas, this sense enjoyment results in so many disadvantages for me and is unfavorable to my attaining Bhagwan. Countless times I have vowed on the holy name to reject sense pleasures, but I repeatedly compelled to enjoy them. He thus derides the objects of sense enjoyment and in course of time enjoys them again. When he scorns them, he overcomes them, and when he enjoys them, he is defeated. The name of this stage of bhakti is Vishaya Sangara. So battle with the sense objects of sense enjoyment. Now another thing is that text 10, Niyamakshama, the inability to uphold vows. Atha Niyamakshama. So this is actually the stage of Niyamakshama. So now we discussed Vishaya Sangara. Vishaya Sangara. And so after Vishaya Sangara, the stage is coming this. So different anarthas. We are all actually speaking about myself. So many types of anarthas. This is actually a very good book for me actually. Because generally speaking, I am just battling with this type of anarthas so much. And this written from our point of view actually. Atha Niyamakshama. So he is actually अथ नियमक्षम अध्यारभ्य यन्ति नामानि गुरितव्यानि एतावत्यश्च प्रणतया कार्यायुक्तम् एव तद्भक्ता अपि सेवनीय भगवत् असंबन्ध वाचोपि नोच्चारणीय ग्राम्य वार्तावतां सन्निधिस्तक्तव्यः इत्यादि प्रतिदिनम् अपि प्रतिजानतो अपि समये तथा न क्षमत्वम् इति नियमक्षमा विषय संगरायां विषय त्याग क्षमत्वम् अत्र तु भक्त्य उक्तर्षा क्षमत्वम् इति भेदः. So here next the stage of niyamakshama is described. At this stage, the sadhaka makes vows of this sort. From this day onward, I will chant the holy name this number of times. Each day, I'll offer this number of prostrated obeisances to Bhagavan, his associates, his pastime places, and the Vaishnavas. I'll perform service to Bhagavan and the devotees in this specific manner. I will not speak even one word that is not related to Bhagavan. I will completely relinquish the association of persons who indulge in mundane talk. In this way, he makes these promises every day, again and again, but is unable to keep them for long. Therefore, this stage of the sadhaka's development is called niyamakshama, or the inability to maintain one's vows. The difference between Vishaya or Niyamakshama is that in Vishaya the sadhaka is unable to completely renounce material sense enjoyment, and in Niyamakshama, he is unable to excel in sadhana or to improve his performance of the practices of bhakti. Piyusha Varshna Vritti. At this stage, when one's faith in devotional practice has increased, the sadhaka realizes the necessity of following the rules and regulations of devotional practice, sadhana bhakti. However, because his attachment to sense objects has not been destroyed, because the pull of his worldly needs is stronger than that of bhakti, he is unable to properly maintain the regulative practices of bhakti. The only reason for this is his inability to taste rasa in bhajan. If the sadhaka were to relish in his heart even a minute particle, if the sadhaka were to relish in his heart even a minute particle of the nectar of Bhagavan's names, forms, qualities, and pastimes, his absorption in various worldly pursuits would cease. It would be impossible for him to abandon the regulative practices of bhajan. The analogy may be given of a little boy who bites into sugarcane and relishes its sweetness on his tongue, and then finds sugarcane impossible to relinquish. Likewise, once a sadhaka has experienced the sweet taste of bhajan, it is impossible for him to give up the regulative principles of bhajan. In this stage of niyamakshama, the sadhaka vows to chant the holy name 100,000 times, 1 lakh daily, offer 1008 prostrated obeisances to Shri Vishnu and the Vaishnava, and serve the Vaishnavas in a regulated manner. In fact, he vows to not engage in any discussion not pertaining to the pastimes of the Lord, and he vows to completely abandon the company of those who speak of material enjoyment and criticize or gossip about others. Thus, despite making such resolutions repeatedly each day, the sadhaka is unable to uphold them when it comes time to put them into practice. For this reason, this stage has been called niyamakshama, or the inability to maintain or improve one's devotional practices as per one's resolutions. In the previous stage, Vishaya Sangara, the practitioner resolves to renounce material sense enjoyment. But when the time comes to do so, he cannot. In the stage of Niyamakshama, even though he tries to uphold his vows or self-imposed rules in an effort to further his devotion and improve his devotional standard, he is unable to do so. Text 11. Taranga Rangini. Delighting in the mundane benefits afforded by bhakti. Atha Taranga Rangini. So actually so many benefits come by doing bhakti and someone is taking delight in them. So that is a problem. So now here in Sanskrit commentary, Atha Taranga Rangini. Bhakti Svabhavam Evayam Tattattvati Sarvepi Jana Anurajjantiti Jananuraga Prabhahi Sampada Iti Pracham Pacho Api Bhakti Utthastu Vibhutishu Labha Puja Pratisthadishu Valli Valita Supasakashu Tarangeshwa Ivacharantya Asyaranga Iti Tarangarangini Iti Madhura Kadambinyam Bhakti Shraddhadi क्रमत्रय कथन पूर्वकम भजन क्रिया भेद कथनम नाम द्वितीयामृत वृष्टि. Bhavanuvad. The stage of Tarangarangini is described. Bhakti's nature is such that everyone becomes naturally attracted to that person in whom she appears. Even the thoughtful and wise personalities of ancient times opined. Jananurag Prabhavahi Sampad. The influence that comes from being the object of people's affection is certainly a wealth. Yet the wealth, worship, fame, and other such prosperity, when attains upon the awakening of bhakti, are in truth parasitic creepers, upashakas, that cover the wish fulfilling wine of pure devotion. These upashakas have been described as waves, taranga, in the great ocean of bhakti. At this stage in the sadhaka's practice of devotion, he frolics ranga in the waves of worship, fame, and so forth. For this reason, it has been called Tarangarangini or frolicking in the waves. Thus ends the Bhavanuvad of the second chapter of Nectar, which describes the different types of bhajana kriya. Having delineated the first three stages of bhakti, Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha and bhajana kriya in sequence, Piyusha Vaishnavritti. Just as water by nature flows downward, people's affection naturally flows towards a devotee. Those who engage in one-pointed devotion to Sri Hari, the soul of all souls, satisfy the whole creation by their devotional worship. The Padma Puran confirms this. Yenarjito haristena tarpitani jaganti rajjanti jantavastatra jangama stavarati. This is a very nice verse actually from Padma Puran. That is telling Yenarjito haristena tarpitani jagantyapi rajjanti jantavastatra jangamasthavarapi. Yenarchito haristena tarpitani jagantyapi rajjanti jantavastatra jangamasthavarapi. All inhabitants of the world are satisfied with a person who has worshipped Shri Bhagavan. All moving and non-moving entities are attracted to him. The result of such attraction is that they begin to honor and worship the devotee. Not only that, but the benefit of all three types of happiness resulting from mundane enjoyment, spiritual bliss, and mystic powers automatically manifest for him. Sri Rupa Goswami has described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.31. Siddhaya Paramashcharya Bhuktir Muktischa Shashvati Nityam cha Paramanando Bhavet Govinda Bhaktita. This is actually a very nice verse. Siddhaya Paramashcharya Bhuktir Muktisya Shashvati Nityam cha Paramanando Bhavet Govinda Bhaktita. Siddhaya Paramashcharya Bhuktir Muktisya Shashvati Nityam cha Paramanando Bhavet Govinda Bhaktita. Those who engage in devotional service to Sri Govinda easily attain astonishing mystic powers, such as anima, the power to become smaller than the smallest. In other words, they attain material happiness. The happiness of liberation and eternal spiritual happiness. Pure devotees want nothing apart from loving devotional service to Sri Krishna. They do not want any happiness related to wealth, worship, fame, material enjoyment, liberation, mystic powers, or personal happiness. For all such things are unfavorable for bhakti. Wealth, worship, and fame are the parasitic creepers, upashakas of the wish-fulfilling wine of pure devotion. Irrigated by the water of the sadhaka's hearing and chanting, these upashakas flourish, overgrow the vine of pure devotion, and stifle it, preventing it from growing. Therefore, it is the sadhaka's duty to cut these upashakas beforehand. In his instruction to Srila Rupa Goswami, Srimad Mahaprabhu has said, Kintu jadi latar sange uthe upashakha bhukti mukti vancha chato asankhya lekha. Actually, instruction by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Rupa Goswami Park, I think in Prayag, is recorded here. And it's telling, Kintu jadilatar sangya uthe upashakha, mukti mukti vancha jato asankhyatar lekha, nishittachara kutinati jiva hinsana, labha puja pratishtha di jato upashakha gana, शेख जल पाया उपशाखा बाढ़ी जाय स्तब्धया मूल शाखा बाढ़ीते न पाय प्रथमे उपशाखार करे छदन तबे मूल शाखा बाढ़ी जाय वृंदावन. श्री चैतन्य चरितामृत मध्य लीला 19 chapter 158 to 161, 3 verses. Sometimes the parasitic creepers of desire for enjoyment or liberation sprout alongside the creeper of devotion. These parasitic creepers are unlimited. They include forbidden behavior, duplicity, violence to other living entities, and a desire for wealth, fame, and adoration. They drink up all the water of the sadhaka's hearing and chanting. In this way, they are nourished and flourish, while the growth of the bhakti lata is curtailed. An intelligent devotee must uproot a parasitic creeper as soon as he spots it, so the original vine of devotion can grow and reach the lotus feet of Sri Krishna in Vrindavan. These parasitic creepers have been described as waves in the vast ocean of bhakti. In the stage of unsteady devotional service, Anishtita Bhajana Kriya, the devotee experiences his activities of devotion as frolicking in these waves. In other words, he takes pleasure in the attainment of praise, worship, and wealth, which are the result of his devotional activities. Consequently, these results are formidable anarthas or unwanted desires that act as obstacles to devotion. This stage of the sadhaka is called Taranga Rangini. Within the third shower, the topic of anarthas arising from bhakti will be discussed. Thus ends the Piyusha Varshini Vritti of the second shower of nectar, which describes the different types of bhajana kriya. Having delineated the first three stages of bhakti, Shraddha, Adhusanka, Bhajana kriya, in sequence. The third shower of nectar, elimination of all impediments to bhakti. Sadhana bhakti, anartha nivritti. The four types of anarthas and a description of them. So basically now the four types of anarthas will be described in this chapter. अथानर्थानां निवृत्ति ते चानार्थाश्चतुर्विधा दुष्कृतोत्था सुकृतोत्था अपराधोत्था भक्तोत्थाश्चेति तत्र दुष्कृतोत्था दुरभिनिवेश देशरागत्या पूर्वोक्ता क्लेशा एव सुकृतोत्था भोगा विनिवेशा विविधा एव ते च क्लेशन्ता पाति नैति केचिन अपराधोत्था इत्यत्र नामापराधा एव गृह्यन्ते. Next, the destruction of obstacles, anartha nivritti, is described. Anarthas are four types. Dushkrututha, impediments arising from previous sinful activities. This refers to the miseries, kleshas previously mentioned, such as absorption in material objects, avinivesh, material attachment, raga, and hatred, dvesha. Number two, sukrututha, impediments that arise due to past pious activities. This refers to absorption in various types of facilities for material enjoyment. Some also counted among the types of klesha. Aparadutta, impediments arising from past offenses. Here this refers solely to offenses to the holy name, namaprad, not to offenses in service, sevapra. And bhakti uttanartha, number 4. Impediments that arise due to imperfectly performed devotion. Piyusha Varshini Vritti. Having described Shraddha, faith, sadhu sangha, saintly association, and anishtita bhajana kriya, unsteady devotional service, in the second shower of nectar, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes in this third shower the stage of anartha vritti, the destruction of impediments. That which has no anartha or real value is known as an anartha. Is known as an artha, means anartha, worthless. The general meaning of artha is money or wealth. But in truth, artha specifically means the attainment of the supreme spiritual entity, Paramartha Vastu. That which is devoid of any worth is known as an anartha. The only real wealth, Paramartha, is Sri Krishna and loving service to him. Consequently, any desire other than to attain Sri Krishna and lovingly serve him is an anartha, a worthless desire. The aspiration for material enjoyment is is a detrimental desire. Indeed, it is the root of all other anarthas. Even the desire for liberation is an anartha. Constitutionally, the living entity is a servant of Sri Krishna. Therefore, Krishna and pure loving service to him are factually the living entities only anartha, only artha or wealth. Whatever is separate from this or an obstacle to it is not his highest wealth, Paramartha, and is known as an anartha. So, bhakti or Bhagavad Dharma is the supremely astonishing, all powerful sadhana. Practitioners who are already free from anarthas easily make their life successful simply by coming in single contact with this sadhan. In Srimad Bhagavatam it is stated, Shuto anupasito anupadito dhyata. So now he is quoting a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11 Canto 2nd chapter 21st 12th verse. श्रुतोनुपादितोऽध्यात आदुतो वानमोदिता सद्यः पुनाति सद्धर्मो देव विश्वद्रोहिः. श्रीमद् भागवतम 11 canto 2nd chapter 12th verse. Bhakti or Bhagavad Dharma is such an extraordinary spiritual progress process that whoever simply hears about it, speaks its glories, meditates upon it, accepts it within his heart with respect and faith, or appreciates a person who has begun to practice it, becomes purified in a moment, even if he is averse to Bhagavan and the entire world. Obstacles to practicing bhakti are called anarthas, and they are described in detail in this third shower. For this reason, it is incumbent on every sadhaka to repeatedly study this third shower with care. Srila Das Thakur has said, Antraya nahi jai, aise pratham avar. My anarthas have not gone, hence I am extremely fearful. The detrimental desire for material enjoyment that resides in living entities who are bound within the net of the illusory energy since time immemorial is the root cause of these anarthas. They are anarthas. Therefore, anarthas are four types: dushkrututtha, sukrututtha, aparadutta, and bhaktiutta. Hare Krishna. So, next class will begin from page number 185. So, thank you so much for attending this class. Hare Krishna. Dandavad pranams. If anyone has any comment or questions, please ask.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavad Pranams. Thank you so much for all your time. And I see you also. Hope you're taking care of your health.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, no problem. My health is okay now. Hari bol, Hari bol.
okay, Hare Bol. So
Hare
if
Krishna.
there's no comments, we'll move on to Jai Diwani. Thank you, Maharaj. Ananga Mohan
Hare
presents.
Krishna. Hare Krishna. Dandavad.
Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Giridhari Radha Vinoda Bihari Ji Ki Jai. Om Vishnu